I have an uncle who's left this earth now who used to say wise things to me like, well, that'll learn you. There was a lot of wisdom in that statement, and I did not get it. I had no idea what he was talking about. Usually it followed something I did that was a really bad idea. But that's what I want to talk about in this episode of Leading Leaders. Stay tuned.
Think storytelling's just for bedtime? Nah, it's the secret sauce for business magic. Stuck in a rut with bland pitches and yawning clients? Enter Boost Your Business with Story Power. 6 weeks of epic storytelling training. It's like leveling up in a video game but for your career. Master the art of narrative and watch connections blossom like a viral TikTok. Simple, impactful, and game-changing. Ready to transform your biz vibes? Dive in now and make storytelling your superpower.
Subscribe now for access to our extensive media library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom. Begin your personal growth plan at storypoweracademy.com for leadership development and communication skills training. Subscribe.
I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. There's a whole lot of ideas that come at us every day, new technologies, new ways of doing things, new systems. And you know, one of the ironies is the number of times that those new ideas are not new ideas. They're actually old ideas repackaged. It's the same thing we've heard before, seen before, done before. It's been tried before, and sometimes it's been done before, tried before, and failed. It didn't work the first time, but here we are revisiting it, looking at it as maybe now because I'm a teenager and I've got it all figured out. I know this is going to work. I know it didn't work for my parents or my grandparents, but now it's a new idea. One just really remote but valid argument for that would be people who wear shirts that say Che Guevara. And I think to myself, do you know who he is? Have you studied the history? I mean, yeah, he had some revolutionary ideas. I don't disagree that he had some revolutionary ideas. And by that I mean ideas of revolution. He also had some brand new thoughts. To him, they were brand new thoughts. Nobody ever thunk that up before. Nobody ever put it in play like that before. But you just got to go back maybe 2 generations to realize that some of the ideas that young people today they think they're brand new ideas. They've never been thought up before. Why didn't I think of that? There really are old ideas. I mean, they're not brand new. Maybe there's a new way to do them, but they're not brand new ideas. Now, I will tell you, simultaneously, there's this tension between that's the way we've always done it, and therefore that's the right way. Also not true. Just because you've done it that way 1,000 times doesn't mean that's the only way to do it, or that it's the right way to do it. And when you put the tension of those two things together, just because it seems like a new idea, understand there's really nothing new under the sun. These ideas have been tried before, political ideas, social ideas, medical ideas. In fact, I have on my shelf, and I won't even bring it out because I don't want somebody to come and try to take it from me, but I have books on my shelves that go back to the 1800s on ways that you can take care of your body, take care of yourself, take care of your household. I was watching one that was released on a YouTube video that kind of points to some of the stuff in my old books. Here's a notion for you. If you've ever gotten that ring of dirt, mold, growing in the little folds of the rubber on your refrigerator door, did you know if you put bleach on that, it'll make it disappear visually for a period of time? But bleach will also dry out that little rubber mold and the trim around the door, and eventually not only will the mold grow back, but the plastic will dry out and you'll begin to lose the efficiency of your refrigerator, and your electric bill is going to go up and your food's going to get warm because you use bleach to kill the mold in the door crack. You know what you can use instead, and it's actually cheaper than bleach? Hydrogen peroxide. True story. Look it up. The chemistry backs it up. The story backs it up. The Amish have been doing it for over 100 years. The evidence backs it up. It's not a brand new idea. However, if you realize that with a little bit of bleach and a little bit of peroxide and a little bit of vinegar, Not the vinegar you buy on the aisle where you buy your groceries to make pickles with, but the vinegar you buy in the cleaning products aisle. 3% or 5% versus 30% acidity. That 30% acidity is so strong that if you don't mix it 60-1, you can pass out from the smell of it. Serious white vinegar. Those are the 3 primary cleaning products, disinfectant products, that have been used for hundreds of years in homes all over the world. Long before all the brand names came out with 62 different chemicals. That, by the way, if you read the ingredients on the one that you clean your toilet with versus the one you clean the sink with, they're almost exactly the same. They have a different fragrance. Is this a new idea or an old idea? Well, it's a sales idea. It's not a different product. It doesn't serve a different purpose. It just has a different spin on it, a different pitch for it, a different story. I mean, these 2 books right here, Expert Secrets and Product Launch Formula. I've read them both, studied them both at length. I spent a whole lot of time studying the webinars, the seminars, the training programs that sit behind both of them. And you know what? This book birthed this book. This one came first, and a lot of these ideas were rehashed, revisited, revamped in this book. You know what else is in this book? Dan Kennedy's sales process. Dan Kennedy's been around for a long time. He's moved millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. Dan Kennedy's a contemporary of Brian Tracy and many others, Todd Proctor's and all these guys that at the turn of the century were just getting their feet wet with, well, a book that almost everybody knows, and both of them kind of quote it in these 2 books right here, Think and Grow Rich. In fact, Think and Grow Rich, the rumor has it that there's actually 16 Principles of Success was the original book. And somebody came along and said, look, if you give them all 16 Principles of Success, no one's going to work for us because they're going to realize they can get rich all on their own. They won't need us for a job. They won't need to work in our factories to have income. They'll understand they can manage money all by themselves. They can reproduce wealth all by themselves. There's a great book called The Richest Man in Babylon where he talks about teaching your money to make babies. If your money makes money, you don't have to work as hard to make money. What a novel notion. But managing people, managing businesses. Here's 2 books. Worldviews and Ideologies, Polar Opposites. Very progressive, very forward thinking, very new, very woke, very DEI kind of worldview. Not so much. Both very successful companies, both making a whole lot of money. And if you were to just go through the principles in here you go. Principle number 1 in the Starbucks book. It's right here on the back cover. I'm not making this stuff up. Right on the back cover it says, principle number 1, make it your own. Number 2, everything matters. Number 3, surprise and delight. Number 4, embrace resistance. What? Number 5, leave your mark. You can almost go through this book and go, yep, same principles, same things in there. Why? Because while it seems like a new idea, these are not brand new ideas. They've been around and they've been successful and they've been working, some of them for centuries. Ever studied Machiavelli? Some great ideas on dealing with relationships. Also some really bad ideas. See, there's something you got to understand about leadership. There's this one true principle in parenting and in grandparenting. When you have toddlers around, sometimes you have to let them make a decision that you know the end result is going to be disastrous. You've got to let them make that decision and walk it out. And when they walk it out, when they get to the conclusion, when it dawns on them, I shouldn't have done that. I've used the illustration before. I remember my daughter now, who is a mother of 3 boys that are almost always dressed alike, or at least they were early on. Now they have a lot more autonomy, but early on you would have thought her 2 oldest boys were twins. Same shorts, same t-shirts, same socks, same shoes, almost every time you saw them. I thought it was kind of comical because she was the one at 4 or 5 years old that came in with mustard yellow shorts and a ketchup red shirt and green socks. And I thought, you kind of look like an elf. And I told her, those don't really match. She had no desire to change them. So I packed an extra set of clothes in her backpack for the day, just in case it dawned on her at some point that the other kids weren't laughing with her, but laughing at her, just in case she realized this was not my best idea. In fact, we have a picture, and just spring break, we spent a week with them, got to hang out with the whole family and had a great time, went and dug in the dirt together, and she and I were laughing about this one picture from Six Flags when she was about 4. This little outfit that her mother picked for her, and we still laugh about it 3 decades later. That little outfit was adorable, we thought, at the time. But when I posted that on social media, probably 15 years ago, she posted a picture of her grandmother's couch and said, "Who wore it better?" And she wasn't too far off. The same patterns, the same color schemes, the same, these ideas, they just repeat. But so does the idea that sometimes you've got to let a decision play out. It's a hard decision as a leader to let someone consequence. Let me tell you, as a leader, sometimes you just got to let them consequence. I recommend Story Power as one of the most powerful teaching tools in leadership. I've never found anything more efficient at demonstrating, I've been here before, I've done this, here was my outcome. Now, if you feel like you need to pound that lesson home, drive it in like a nail or a stake through the heart, that's one thing. But if you say to somebody, hey, I tried that one time, I put lemon in the bottom of my coffee cup, then I added the milk, then I poured in the hot tea. You know what happens when you put an acid like lemon in your milk? Yeah, it curdles really fast. In England, they mix cream in their tea all the time. Or you can choose to do it American style and put lemon in your tea, hot or cold. But lemon and milk, not a great combination unless you're trying to make heavy cream. Then you kind of need it to curdle to get that thing. But the first time you do it and you see it turn to cottage cheese in the bottom of your teacup, you probably think, that's not something I want to do. You can tell that story as someone else has the cream and the lemon in their hand and think, you know, if I just tell them what happened to me, maybe they'll learn that lesson. But as we know in parenting, and we often learn in leadership, sometimes you just got to let them consequence. You've got to let them go through the process, let them try their new idea and see how new their idea is. And honestly, there may be times that they come up with something like, oh, but I could do it like this. And suddenly it works. That one little twist makes all the difference. It's possible. It could happen. And maybe you learn something along the way. But there's no greater teacher than hardship. When you make a mistake, when you make a decision and it is a failure, you'll never forget that. What we as leaders have to do is measure the consequences. Now, I can tell you what the contrast of this process, let them consequence. The opposite side of that is I have to be in complete control. I can't trust them to make decisions that may have a bigger outcome. I need to be in complete control because I've got goals that need to be achieved. I have assignments that have to be completed, projects that have to be done on time. And by golly, if they don't do exactly what I want them to do, exactly the way that I want them, that's more of the Machiavellian idea, right? If they don't do exactly what I want them to do, exactly the way I want them to do it, and with the right attitude, then I don't need them on my team. That may be great for short-term goal achieving. It's really bad for trying to build a sustainable organization. Because along the way of gaining control, what you give up is trust. Maybe you've never pondered those two things as a juxtaposition. But if you have control, you probably don't have a whole lot of trust. And here's something else you need to consider about trust. Trust, like respect, is a two-way street. It also comes with a whole lot of unintentional, subconscious projection. If I don't trust myself, I probably don't trust you. And if I know myself to be untrustworthy, I know I operate in a lack of integrity, I'm not going to tell you that. I probably don't hold up a sign or a banner and go, hey, don't trust me. But I do operate in a way that it becomes obvious. And one of the first ways that it shows, before the credit report, before the ESG scores, before the biometrics begin to measure everything you do and who you hang out with and how fast you drive and how hard you turn corners and how hard you brake at stoplights, all of that is coming. If it's not already here, it will be very, very soon. So how you drive as a reflection of the who that you are, it's going to be in the mix very, very soon. How many people you cut off in traffic? Yeah, flock cameras know that. They know what state you're in and whether or not you're driving with your eyes closed, because your car is going to tattle on you by the end of Christmas. All of those trustworthy signs and symbols, the outward measures. Long before any of that happens, your energy level, the connotation of the words that you use, the stories you choose to tell. Remember, the story power method begins with story mining. We move from story mining to story crafting to connecting with your audience to leading the narrative. You have in your own delivery today new ideas that corrupt kind of your current way of thinking, the current status quo. Your new ideas come out in your stories. Your new ideas, whether you trust someone or you don't, whether you're trustworthy or you're not, whether you operate in full integrity and you're confident in that, or you don't trust anybody because you know you're not trustworthy. Those ideas, long before the flock cameras see them, your stories reveal them. What you choose to talk about, the things that you bring up, the ideas that are floating around in your head, the notions that you feel like, well, nobody's ever thought of that before. Those ideas alone reveal just how much external input you have in your life. How many times have you considered the old ways and looked at them and went, yeah, that's been tried before. It wasn't good then. It's not going to be good now. Or they tried it, but I think they missed something, and maybe if I just make this one tweak, it could be better. I mean, you would have to admit, like it or not, that the F-16s today are better than the Wright brothers aircraft. I mean, can you argue? Now, better for what? That's a whole different thing. Maybe that's a worldview, a philosophical opinion that maybe you look at it and go, well, but it only carries 1 or 2 people, so I want to carry 300. Okay, well, how about the Airbus? Is that a better invention than the Wright brothers bicycle with wings? Of course it is. The concept of flying hasn't changed a lot, though. The principle of lift, that's been around as long as there's been air. As long as we've been able to disturb the air above the wing, create a vacuum below the wing, we've had lift. If you're a physicist or an aeronautics expert and I just described lift improperly, feel free to leave it in the comments, but I don't care. It's the general principle. As long as there's been gravity, there's been lift. How the airplane is fashioned, the way that it's detailed, whether or not the seat should be leather or cloth, who cares? I mean, they're truth, they're right, they're wrong, they're new ideas, but are they really corrupting? Are they disruptive of the way that things are? And sometimes new ideas should be corruptive. They should be a little bit fruit basket turnover like. New ideas should upset the apple cart. If not, we'd all still be flying around in a little wooden aircraft with a bicycle attached to the bottom. I don't think that's what we want. But these new ideas have to be filtered through the old ideas, and sometimes new ideas have to be tried and tested. Sometimes new ideas, you got to let them consequence. You got to let them wear that horrible outfit in public until people go, are you really wearing that? You know the world can see you, right? And suddenly those decisions begin to have weight and magnitude. The consequences begin to reveal themselves. One of the things that fascinates me about the psychology of humanity when I watch these cop videos, watch them from both sides too, though. Watch them when the encounter is just being recorded. Watch them when another police officer is reviewing that encounter. And then watch them when the same encounter is being reviewed by an attorney who's talking about the citizen's constitutional rights as all these things were happening. You will be blown away how the perspective of the third-party viewer is different about exactly the same thing. How does the law see it? How does the law enforcement see it? How does the judge see it? How does the citizen see it? Same incident, fully recorded, everybody saw every angle, and yet they all have a different view. Well, that's true in every instance in life. And sometimes that multiple perspective advantage, as Dr. Caroline Leaf calls it, gives us a chance to step out of the moment, out of the story, out of our leadership incident, out of our choices, out of our decisions, and go, if I just played that out without living it out, if I just played that out, what would happen? I've seen multiple videos where the officer said to the driver, you are free to go. We're going to impound your car because it's not properly registered, it's not insured. You're going to get a ticket and you can walk home from here, call a ride, get on a bus, whatever you need to do, but from this moment, you're not driving. And if they'd simply accepted that and hoofed it out of there, their day would have moved on just fine. And instead, they argued with the cop, got in a physical altercation with the cop, and ended up in jail with a couple of felonies on their record. Why? Well, decisions, choices. Sometimes you got to let them consequence. And sometimes you hope to say, don't do that. There's a better way than doing that. You want to interrupt them. You want to get in the way and go, hold on. Let me tell you what happened the last 400 times somebody tried that. In leadership, we can't just be focused on the short-term goal, the win, the being in control, the getting them to comply. This is not a game of compliance with, if you just do what I told you to right now, I win, and I don't care if you win or lose. In leadership, our role should be to say, I'm trying to set you up for success today and for years after I'm gone. I want this organization, I want you as an individual, I want my family to realize there are cascades of consequences behind some decisions. I got in a car that I knew was out of date in its registration. I had no excuse, I just wanted to drive it. Okay, that's a decision. It might have consequences. What are the consequences? Well, it could be I get a ticket and my car gets impounded, or I get a ticket and I get sent home and told, don't drive it again, you're going to get another ticket. Or I could make another bad decision that cascades to another bad decision, that cascades to another bad decision, and now I've got a felony record, I'm losing my job, and I owe thousands in fines, and I've got a court date. And it all started with a decision to drive the car that I knew was illegal to drive rather than walk to the Dollar General. People make decisions like that every day. They make decisions like that to cut corners. I've been working with a client recently who said he remembers working with someone in the past who would order parts on a Monday that they knew couldn't be in place until Friday, because between Monday and Friday, there were going to be new parts that had to come in to go into that project. I need to replace 5 things. 3 of them I'm going to order overnight on Monday. I'll have them by Tuesday. 2 of them I'm going to order on Monday, but I know I can't have them till Friday or maybe the next Monday. And now you're asking the question, why is this individual in the habit of always paying for overnight freight on 3 of 5 parts? That's a cascade of consequences, because at some point, the department's going to run out of budget. And the individual making the decision to rush order the parts doesn't care about the budget. They only care about, by Monday, I'll have this machine back online. Okay, well, ultimately, that's 7 days of lost production, right? But how much more did we spend being in lost production because you decided to rush order the parts? Was that a wise choice? What's the cascade? What happens when you order the 3 on rush and can't justify the budget to buy the other 2? That's a problem. But sometimes in leadership, you've got to look at that new idea that corrupts current understandings and say, I know you understand that this is a rush. I know you understand this is a big deal. We got to get a production back online. But have you thought about the consequences of the decision that you're making? What about the cascade of consequences? What about everything that will follow that one choice? See, one of the things that I like about studying people like John Maxwell, and for what it's worth, I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, I've been studying John Maxwell for over 30 years. And this individual, who was probably 30, 35 years old, meaning I've been studying John Maxwell as long as they've been alive, says, "Who's John Maxwell?" And I thought, here's something that I love that I know. This book has been on my shelf for a minute. This is John Maxwell's 25 Ways to Win with People. Looks like I bought this used because the notes in the front of it don't look like my handwriting. And somebody did some underlining in pencil. So I bought this used. I haven't been through this particular book myself, but here's what I know for a fact. I can pick up this book because I trust the source, John Maxwell. I know his faith. I know his worldview. I know his ideologies. I've been studying for 30 years. I can pick up a book by John Maxwell that I've never read before and feel confident that I can turn to a page and know that whatever I read off that page, whatever I share with you right now, whatever quote I pulled out of here, literally at random, is trustworthy. It's a trustworthy saying. It's been meted out. The idea has been pounded on and revisited and tested. The consequences have been measured. The results have been compared. And it's a statement that's known to be true. Some might look at that and go, it's outdated. Here's what I can tell you. What you think is outdated today is coming back around. Just look at fashion. So here we go for a random. At random, I'm going to close with this. At random, I have no idea. I just picked up the book, 25 Ways to Win with People. Randomly turned to page 53. This is apparently the beginning of chapter 8. And he says, encourage the dreams of others. Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that. But the really great make you feel that you too can become great. Now, that's John Maxwell quoting Mark Twain. Again, dude's over 100 years old. How old do your ideas have to be? How new do your ideas have to be? Maybe you've never heard someone say, trust the people who encourage your dreams. Invest time in them because they're willing to invest in you. When I began talking to John's office staff, one of the things I found out is that he receives dozens of letters every week thanking him for the positive changes that have come as a result of his books, seminars, and lessons on CD. I asked Sue Caldwell if I could see some of those letters, and she handed me a thick folder that contained some that she had shared with the staff. As I flipped through the pages, I noticed how many times people had written about hopes and dreams being rekindled in them. Let's see, when was this book written? Because that's Les Parrott, Doctor of Management, I believe. Library of Congress, 1977. Oh, that's the New American Standard Bible. This book was written in 2005. So for those of you 21 and younger, this book is older than you. So you might look at it and go, I don't get it. That's not new stuff. It doesn't match what they say on TikTok. It doesn't match what I heard yesterday from a podcast. Look, new ideas sometimes corrupt your current circumstances, your current understanding. What you believe to be true right now might need a new idea. And perhaps it needs an old one. It needs a tested, tried, and true kind of an idea. Maybe you need to go back and read some older books and think through the consequences, not just the immediate consequences. Will I reach my goal or not? But the long-term cascading consequences. And then remember, it's still true. The story you tell in the mirror and the story you tell in the media inform the who that you are and informs the world who you are, whether you intend to or not. Take some time to fill your imagination with some new ideas. Think on some things you hadn't thought on before. And then, well, if you think on the right things, you can do anything. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. There is a retreat coming up that I want you to know about. It's called the Story Power Academy Retreat. This Story Power Retreat is about focusing on your communication skills, taking them to the next level. Discover, develop, draft, deploy, and deliver some of the best stories you've ever learned. You're going to listen, create, connect, relax, and reflect around this beautiful lake scene in Granbury, Texas. It's a chance to rejuvenate and refresh and start over with with some of the best training you can possibly imagine around storytelling, leadership, and communication. Join us. Get away.
Subscribe now for access to our extensive media library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom. Begin your personal growth plan at storypoweracademy.com for leadership development,